President Kiir discusses the humanitarian situation in the country with the UN Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs. And Central Equatoria donates over $280,000 to support local football clubs. And women in a will call for amicable solution to political crisis in the country. Welcome to the news, wherever you may be, read to you by Rejoice Teo Samson, and now the full text of the news. The President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, discussed with the United Nations Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, Ms. Valerie Amos, the humanitarian situation, importance of safety, security, and reconciliation in the country following the failed coup attempt led by Riek Machar. Ms. Amos said in a press statement that she visited some IDPs in Malakal and Juba to acquaint herself with the situation on the ground and make a plan to deal with the situation, especially during the coming rainy season.
Look at the evolving humanitarian situation, particularly the impact of the recent conflict. Over 700,000 people internally displaced. I had an opportunity to visit some of them in Malakal yesterday, and also to see some of the people here in Juba at the UN base. But I'm also making sure that the overall humanitarian situation that we had before this conflict broke out, that we maintain our commitment and our focus on that, and that we also do the planning needed to deal with anything that occurs as a result of the rains, which will come later in the year. I've just had an opportunity to have a very long and positive conversation with the President. In particular, we talked about the humanitarian situation, but also about the important need for safety, security, and reconciliation in the country.
The Minister of Cabinet Affairs and Secretary of the National Crisis Management Committee, Dr. Martin Elia Lomuro, discussed with the UN Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, Valerie Amos, areas of humanitarian needs in the conflict-affected areas across the country following the 15th December failed coup attempt. Dr. Lomuro expressed satisfaction over the outcome of the meeting. Jackie Daru reports.
The Minister of Cabinet Affairs and Secretary of the National Crisis Management Committee, Martin Elia Lomuro, discussed with the UN Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, Valerie Amos, areas of humanitarian needs in the conflict-affected areas across the country. Following the 15 December failed coup attempt, Dr. Elia Lomuro expressed satisfaction over the outcome of the meeting.
Our meeting was to not only understand the overall situation, but also to see how best we can work together as a government and as United Nations organizations, particularly in how we help those in areas under control of the rebels. How do we work together to make sure that we comply with the aspirations of the President, that help goes to everybody in South Sudan, irrespective of where they are. This is a particularly challenging area, which I think we've had a lot of discussions on. We also want to improve on the way we communicate with the UN agencies to make sure that our help is effective, in time and in full, with all that we can afford. And I think today, Valerie will now go with full information, having talked to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, having talked to myself, we've been involved in one way or the other, and we'll have a good discussion with the President on some of those things. So I think it's grateful that she's been able to spend time to come over and be with us. And I hope that we will meet again in the next few days, and hopefully meet in the US and be able to give our view about the situation here in the Republic.
Meanwhile, the United Nations official expressed UN commitment to support victims of the violence in the country.
An opportunity for an intense and comprehensive discussion with the Minister of Cabinet Affairs about the evolving humanitarian situation here in South Sudan. We are all extremely concerned by the large number of people displaced as a result of the conflict, which started in mid-December. but we are also committed to ensuring that those people in humanitarian need before that continue to receive assistance. We discussed in particular the urgent need for reconciliation efforts so that those people who are displaced, particularly in UN bases around the country, feel secure enough to leave. The importance of continuing to work on longer-term development efforts and also ensuring that we secure the situation in advance of the rains coming later in the year. It was a comprehensive and good discussion, and I look forward to.
And senior police commanders and UN police advisors held a meeting chaired by the Inspector General of Police, General Pieng Deng Kuol, to explore mechanisms for building confidence and trust among the police and citizens.
I'm a state advisor of Central Equatoria.
Police commanders and United Nations police advisors held a meeting chaired by the Inspector General of Police, General Pieng Deng Kuol, to explore mechanisms for building confidence and trust of citizens toward police. The meeting also touched on encouragement of the internally displaced persons to return to their homes. During the meeting, the United Nations Police expressed commitment to support the National Police Service to achieve its aspiration.
We are trying to look at South Sudan after the crisis. You remember before the crisis, we had a very steady program of transforming and reforming the police service in this country. But because of the last few days, there has been a need to change our direction before we continue with what we had planned, especially in the last 1.5 years. Right now, we are talking about South Sudanese that have run away from their homes. They are now in camps all over the UN compound. We are talking about South Sudanese who are living in fear. We are talking about South Sudanese who need confidence that the police in this country as an institution is still available for them and they can give them the protection that they think will give them. So today, the Inspector General of Police has just finished a successful meeting with the top leadership of UNIMIS police in this country, and we have agreed to work together to put together a strategy that will address confidence building, that will address trust building between the communities of South Sudan today and the police. The police is the only institution that has been mandated by the constitution of this country to keep law and order. And this is the time for us to make sure that it is visible, to make sure that the people feel the presence of the police in their lives. This is very, very important. And we've agreed that we are going to use the media. We've agreed that we are going to train the police in a very, very special way. The police must be very understanding. The police must be very careful in what they do. The police must make sure that they keep their promise of assuring the people, and the police must make sure that development at this time in history cannot happen unless all the citizens in this country feel secure.
The police official spokesperson, Colonel James Mande, said the program will include educating the police on the international human rights law, building protective environment, and protection of civilians from physical violence, among others.
First of all, to build confidence of the community in the South Sudan National Police Service, and to encourage those who have left their homes and took refuge in the UN compound or elsewhere to return to their homes. A lot of activities were discussed which are going to be implemented. One of the activities is to provide protection through prevention and political process. We understand the political process is already taking place in Addis Ababa. This is one of the means that will also bring a solution to the problem. Number two is the protection from physical violence. It is the duty of the police to see to it that people are well protected. There is no infringement on the right of the people. The third thing is the building protection environment. the South Sudan National Police Service is to build a secure environment which encourage the people to go to their homes and live their free life. The fourth thing is to educating the public about the protection of civilian mandate and issues of concern. Also educate the South Sudan National Police Service personnel on international humanitarian law and human rights. All this have to be some of the activities that this program will actually carry out.
It was also agreed that other security organs be involved in the program. Eddie Stephen, SSTV News.
And moving on to Western Equatoria State, where the Governor Joseph Bangasi Bakasoro urges youth to be committed in defending lives, property, and the territorial integrity of this country. He also called on the youth to promote the spirit of unity and peaceful coexistence as people of one country. Governor Bakasoro also addressed the organized forces in Tombra County and urged them to be united and shun ethnicity. Gori Anthony has the details.
The governor of Western Equatoria State, Joseph Bangasi Bakasoro, urges youth to be committed in defending lives, properties, and the territorial integrity of this country. He also called on the youth to promote the spirit of unity and peaceful coexistence among the people of one country. Governor Bakasoro also addressed the organized forces in Tombra County and urged them to be united and shun from ethnicity. He emphasized on promotion of food security to eradicate hunger in the state.
no amalde shakla bistemir ashan istimar bitajalaba ya uganena kan shakil umman dar kullu zol yakunu jalaba ukulu zol yakunu muslim ya kwani fi waktu de umazede eni fata enak fata eni iya zol fata kalini magabila bitaya wa winta magabila bitaya lakini na hapo ka akwan de yaga giblena mushkila fi ginu Sudan wan biyar gimini ko muina itum fi Niger kanita balanda ita zande ita nuer ita dinka ita jur ita munu mash kulu gabala lina ya godu kanas wahid lo fita virga bainkum lisa bijibu fitna ana fi odudu bita ita fi odudu bita ita fi beta ana fi beti lakini mal shokol nemi sikulna bijibu wahida bijibu muhaba bainina lakini lo fi onsuria bainina ya bijibu shakla عشان كل زول ما داري ثمار من الليلة لقدام نشوف نفوسنا كناس بتجنوب السودان ما نشوف نفوسنا كقبائل نشوف نفوسنا نينا يال بتجنوب السودان إتم يا يال بتا نيجيرو كان يتجا في بوهرات ولا يتجا في يونيتي ولا يتجا في جونغولي wita jamini wen wita asafi nagero ita gena bitashinu nagero.
Members of the Legislative Assembly from Tombra County said a mobilization committee at the county level was formed to sensitize people on defense of the country. Gore Anthony, SSTV News.
Central Equatoria government donates over $200,000 to Malakia and Atalabara football teams to facilitate their well-being in Sudan, Congo-Brazzaville and Ghana, representing South Sudan in the Confederation of the African Football Tournament.
The Ministry of Finance in Central Equatoria State has donated $200,000 to Malakia and Atalabara football teams. The Minister of Finance, Professor Paul Lado, said the money will facilitate accommodation of the two teams going to represent the Republic of South Sudan in Confederation of the African Football Tournament next month in Sudan, Congo, Brazzaville, and Ghana. He clarified that the national government will facilitate the air tickets for the two teams.
Financial support to our two teams, the gallant teams, which defeated all the teams in South Sudan, and they are going to represent the whole country in the FIFA Cups in Khartoum, Congo, and Ghana. These teams are the Malakia team and Atlabara team. They are all from Juba. And we are very happy, the governor, on behalf of the governor of Central Equatoria State, we have really dug our fingers into the mud until we pull out something which can make them to travel. What we require from our people is that we'll all die together. When we are poor, we die together. When we are rich, we die together. We will support you to the end, but we should be proud of you.
The Minister of Culture, Youth, Sports, David, appreciated Government Clement Wanikonga for the donation. He said his ministry is committed to improve sports so as to promote peace among the people of this country.
The Minister of Finance handed over sum of $294,808 for the teams to travel abroad. Indeed, it has been very, very historical day for us to see to that our governor, Clement Wanikonga, has suspended one of the important projects for Central Equatoria State.
Philip Kotawala, representative of the two teams, appreciated the government of the Central Equatoria for the donation.
I would like to assure the people of South Sudan that we are going to conduct ourselves, we are going to do our level best, and they will see the results. We are very happy that both teams that is going to represent South Sudan has come out of Central Equatoria. And don't be afraid that you will not see your face in these two teams, especially the team of which I am the president, that is Atlabara.
He said the donation will enable them participate in the Confederation of the African Football Competition. Paul Machoe, SSTV News.
The government of Kenya has offered to bail out members of Group B suspected coup plotters of the 15th failed coup attempt against the government. This move came after the investigation linked to the failed coup attempt instigated by Riek Machar Teny and his group. The Presidential Press Secretary Atenywe Kateny said the government of Kenya would avail the suspects whenever needed to appear before the court. 3 members of Group A, namely Majogdi Agot, Oyaideng Ajak, and Pagana Mum, will remain in custody awaiting court hearings to answer charges on their treason.
At around 11 o'clock, the decision was made, and the 7 detainees were released and ended to Kenya because they were released on bail and ended to Kenya government. Of course, in accordance with the finding, the committee, which was actually set up to investigate the coup suspect, has given 3 categories. One category is category A, which put about 7 people in the category A. That has included Riek Machar, Taban Dengai, Alfred Lado Gore, Oyaideng Ajak, Pagana Mumukich, and Dr. Majang Agot, and Ezekiel Lulgarkot. This category of the people are the one who planned the coup and executed it. And they are to answer the conspiracy case, the conspiracy and high treason. There is also a category B, which included Denga Lor Kwal, Ger Chuang Alung, Dr. Sherina Itang, John Luke Jok, Madut Biarial, Chol Tong Mayai, Kosti Manibi Ngai, Dr. Peter Adwok Nyaba. But among the 8, Dr. Peter Adwok Nyaba, I think, has disappeared. He has left the country, and he's also enlarged. But he is one of the members of the category B. This category are answering charges of incitement and instigation of the public to create public arrest. So this is the second category of the crime that comes after the crime of conspiracy and treason. The recommendation came that the 8 members, the 8 suspects, were supposed to be released on bail and live here in South Sudan. But when the information was given to the 8, the 7 of them were in detention. They expressed their concern that they cannot be safe inside South Sudan. So they requested a third country, and that third country was Kenya. So the envoys from Kenya came here to take the 7 political detainees, the suspect of the coup, and they will be in Kenya. This is conditional because when the 7th at category A are taken to court, and if any need arise for the 8 that were actually released, unveiled, to come and give a witness in a court of law, they would be called. The Kenyan government will be asked to, to flew them to Juba so that they answer the case and they return back to Nairobi. The category C, of course, is Khamis Abdul Latif, that was found to have not committed anything, so he has been released fully. So this is for the member of public to understand this, that the 7 people who were actually ended to Kenya today have not been freed completely. They have not been freed from charges. They are still facing charges of incitement and instigation of the public to create public unrest. This is also a second degree of crime that was committed on 15th of December. So they are not fully released, but they were supposed to be released and stay in South Sudan. If they were to accept that they can melt into public, if they are told trust the people of South Sudan, they would have been living with us here. And they go to court like any other person that is actually released on bail when you are answering a case in the country in accordance with the law of that country, of the country in which you are eligible as a citizen. But they have chosen the third country, third party in the case, so they are taken to Kenya.
Well, if you have just joined us, you're watching SSTV News coming to you live from Juba. And to continue with the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM urges IGAD member countries to monitor and verify the recent agreement on the cessation of hostilities signed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, between the government and the rebel group led by Riek Machar. The call was made by the party's acting Secretary General Dr. Ann Ito during a news conference held on Wednesday in Juba.
Negotiating team that went to Addis Ababa, led by Comrade Niel Deng, who came back with 2 very good agreements. One of the agreement is on cessation of hostilities, and this agreement provided for protection of civilians. It also provided for humanitarian access, which has been difficult when the 2 parties were fighting. It has also provided for monitoring and verification mechanism under IGAD. Now, this agreement is good, and at least there is calm and peace, relative peace in many of the places like Bor, Malakal, and Bentiu that have seen the worst of devastation that has ever been witnessed in South Sudan.
Jonglei State government and the entire community is stepping up support to the victims of the failed coup attempt in the country through blood donation drive spearheaded by the State Minister of Health. A number of officials from the state ministries led by the State Minister of Health, Mashek, on Wednesday visited Juba Teaching Hospital and donated packets of blood to support the victims who are in dire need.
Patriotism. Our tribe is South Sudan. Government officials and youths from Jonglei State crowded the blood bank at Juba Teaching Hospital to show their heartly support to the victims of the failed coup attempt who are nursing gunshot wounds. The Good Samaritans, led by the State Minister of Health, Mashek, crowded to donate packets of blood to save lives of the victims at the hospital.
Our tribe is South Sudan and we choose peace.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. I want to support everyone who is in the hospital by giving blood, and if you're out there and you're able to give blood, please come to the hospital. And if you're not sure if you can, please come and they'll test you and they'll tell you if you'll be able to give your blood. This is one way we can help reconstruct our country.
Speaking to SSTV, the State Minister of Health, Mashek, said it's a symbolic move by the state to mobilize and support the victims, urging the entire public to unite and work for peace in the country.
That blood is life. And the youth that came with me today are symbolic. We came, so many of us, and only few qualified to be able to donate blood, like my young sister here, Ajo Kwal Manyang. It is a commitment to the country, the Republic of South Sudan. Our first commitment was through the vote. In fact, even before the vote for independence was commitment through the struggle of 20 years where our people gave their life. And today we continue to give our life for the Republic of South Sudan in the form of the donation. The donation of the blood is to serve the military that gave their life, to serve the citizen that gave their life, to protect the land and the sovereignty of the Republic of South Sudan. So this is a very proud act, and I'm so proud that the youth that are with me here in the form of Ajo and the others that tried are committed to the Republic of South Sudan building. We are committed to peace, we are committed to reconstruction and development, we are committed that one day we'll be able to see South Sudan as one of the developed countries. And so I want to call out on the youth, please come in, the young and the old. There is always guidelines for blood donation. It is not by weight or anything, but the procedure is put in place. When you qualified, you are participating in many aspects. You are participating in peace building, in development, in reconstruction, in reconciliation. This is what it means today for us to come here. So come, help the crisis management team, help Juba Teaching Hospital, help the states that were hit, Jonglei State, Unity State, and Upper Nile State.
And the acting director for Laboratory and Blood Bank at Juba Teaching Hospital, Charles Masinda, said blood is the only asset needed in the hospital to restore the lives of the patients in need.
Actually, the Minister of Health, Jonglei State, organized a blood donation drive in the hospital here since 2 weeks ago. And this is just the continuation. It has been a very good initiative. However, the turn up has been very low. Actually, we encourage and we appeal for our population to develop this spirit of donating blood voluntarily, because, especially at this moment, the hospital is in very great need of blood, especially our brothers and sisters who are coming from the war zone. Besides that, we've always been in need of blood, especially for children and mothers who are delivering by C-section.
He calls on the citizens of South Sudan to turn up for the blood donation drive. Eddie Stephen, SSTV News, Juba.
Women in the administration of prison service visited the wounded patients at Juba teaching and military hospitals, respectively, following the 15th December failed coup attempt in Juba. The women also donated food commodities, including bowls, for the patients in the two hospitals. In a statement to SSTV, the Director of Prisons Women Unit in the Administration of Prison Service, Colonel Mary Akuch, said their visit was to raise morale of the wounded. She urged citizens to embrace the spirit of peace and support the government in this current situation.
عشان نجي نعمل شجاع إنه وطن ده وطن بتاعكم. إن شاء الله ريق مشاري عمل تمرد ما بقدر عليهم. لأنه ما في النهاية زول كله لما نعمل 8 سنة ولا 10 سنة يفتح حاجة جديدة. فأنا بكلم لشعب الجنوب شدوا لكم لبلد. الوطن ده وطن بتاعكم. ما منكم يجي يقربوا. إن شاء الله زول يبدأ الواحد بكون جنوب. ما تفكروا عشان تقولوا إنه الناس بتاعنا ماتوا زي الناس اللي ماتوا في بور ولا في ملكان ولا في بنتيو لسه في جنوب ما مات نقيفوا في الرئيس بتاعنا سالفا كير ميارديت نقيفوا وراه.
Mother is always touched more than any other person whenever they say their children are getting injured, they are getting wounded for no cause. I think the visit today by the prison forces has created a lot of morale for the soldiers who are injured. In the aspect of recovery from the injury, they will get a lot of morale boosting.
Women of Northern Bahar Ghazal State gathered at Awil General Women Association premises in Awil town on Tuesday under the theme Women for Peace. The burden and scourge of the torment, dislodgement women encountered, and they are deeply concerned about the current political instability in the country. As Jackie Daru reports, the deputy chairperson of Awil General Women Association, Monica Mawien, said women of Northern Bahar Ghazal are calling for peaceful resolution to the current crisis, warning parties to respect the ceasefire deal.
Women of Northern Bahar Ghazal State gathered at Awil General Women Association premises in Awil town on Tuesday under the theme Women for Peace. The burden and the scourge of the torment, dislodgement women encountered, and they are deeply concerned about the current political instability in the country. The deputy chairperson of Awil General Women Association, Monica Mawien, said women of Northern Bahar Ghazal are calling for peaceful resolution to the current crisis, warning parties to respect the ceasefire agreement and ongoing peace negotiation in Addis Ababa, urging for inclusion of women representation at ongoing peace negotiations.